Oh. We have started.
No.
Yeah.
There.
I'm done.
Clear the hair out of. Anyway, hi, I'm Steveo the Gamer, and with me, as always, my co-host.
Mack-Attack.
If you can see her eyes, I'm not
I'm
sure.
here. Oh no! Don't split them. What?
Craziness. You're watching One Side of the Coin, our weekly Genesis Battle of Champions show. So tonight we're going to be getting into a discussion about our feelings, opinions about the playtesting we did last Thursday with Sid himself, dungeon crawler style, campaign setting style for Genesis, which was really interesting, really cool. So if you've tried this out, let us know. Participate in the chat. We're also going to be touching base on the current meta a little bit and want to get some viewers' opinions too about what you're feeling for Genesis right now. Like finding that the competitive play has gotten a little bit stale, or you're getting a little bored with it, or your anticipations for Origins coming up. Do we need to see more cards in Genesis coming out? So we want to see what the current feeling is for the meta play going into the different circuits that are going to be arising prior to this year's championship, also prior to Origins releasing. So if you watched our last week, we did a box opening. We did get the reprint of J2 is finally arriving. We should be having it in the store as early as Monday, Tuesday next week. So we're super, super excited about that. We actually got some product. We can start running drafts, start running sealed events again, etc. Right? So super excited about that. I was talking to Magician today. They've got it. So and I'll be picking it up then. So super excited. So thank you to Haunted Castle Games and Sid for giving us Genesis, right? As always. Anybody you want to say hi to tonight?
Cam. Hi, Cam. He's probably watching. My brother. Well, if he does pop in or rewatches this later or whatever.
Sure. Right. Yeah, I think I was over watching it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Maybe.
But anyway, so Patreon showed up too. I opened up some Patreon with my mom, who's a huge fan of Genesis. She was super, super excited. Remember, you were there at the experience when she saw that one card. You want to elaborate on that a bit? Add to the conversation.
The Oni and
no, not the Oni, the other one.
Oh my god.
Decoy.
Yeah.
The decoy rabbit card that we got in our Patreon. Wow.
Listen, shush. Long day.
Wake you up? Yeah, wake up, Mack-Attack, wake up.
Yes, the decoy rabbit. The new decoy card.
So
it's a Sid holding a bunny. And my grandma, she made the decoy bunny. She knitted them, and they're sitting here in the store, and that's what a Sid was holding. It was
she made one for him as well. She made two different versions of the decoy bunny. She had knitted them, made them. One was the brown one from the original artwork from Beta,
and then one was Fang.
Was the one with Fang, right?
Holding
it up. Behind the stump, right, and rain in the background, right? So, my mom was like super, super excited to see that. She loved that card. It was, she thought it was absolutely amazing. The artwork on it was bang on. The fact that Sid's finally on his own Genesis card, right? So, because of the amount of Patreons that I have, I'm definitely going to be using this card. So that, Sid's always with me, right? Whenever it's like, hey, Sid, thanks for the savior, right? The way decoy operates. So super excited. It was nice to see the Ani, the full art picture of Ani. It was super nice.
Yeah.
And I think that the big topper for me was that golden stag.
Oh
right?
My goodness.
So it's the new artwork for the gilded stag.
I didn't even think that was like a new artwork. I thought that was just in the Patreon.
Well, it is. It was a Patreon exclusive. But anyway, it had, and they actually had the artwork of a golden stag rather than the gilded stag. Right?
Yeah.
So, but it's, oh my god, it's so gorgeous. This card. Hey Hassan, how are you? Thanks for joining us. But so I was super excited. So glad I got a whole bunch of those. for the Patreon. You got some. My mom was super happy about it as well. So with as much as she loves Genesis, especially with the artwork, right? So that shout out to all them. Definitely love all the artwork. Yeah, I got Nubia's like slowly starting to fade.
Your
On my
Idris
sweater. My
is,
Idris
like,
is almost
so
gone.
faded,
Raha is
yeah.
almost gone. It's like, oh my god. But again, I wear these, like I rotate them. Like I'm wearing a Genesis sweater every single day, right?
Oh
Pretty
yeah,
much, so.
he's barely worn any of his other sweaters.
Yeah, once in a while. Only when
Even
these are
his-
all in the wash, right?
Listen, it's so bad. He's even like given up his Hello Kitty Darth Vader sweater.
Sweater, yeah, I barely wear
He
it
hasn't
anymore.
worn that in like forever.
Once in a while. Very solid. But yeah, no, I love my Genesis gear. It's gonna be sad when all the pictures are gone. Cause, yeah. But in the future, might get some more, hopefully.
No,
But
it's
it's
even-
I love Damian. Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing, the artwork, and he's lead art designer for Genesis.
Yeah, you want to know what's more sad?
What's that?
I don't have an sweater or shirt.
Actually, well, no, my Essence Strain is not a sweater. It's just a long sleeve T-shirt. So, but you got Rain.
Yes, I
You
do.
got your Rain, right? You got your Nubia sweater, right? What are you complaining about, right? So, I know my son Cam, he has Core, right? So, because he's a huge fan of Core, and the artwork that Damian did of Core is like so nice.
Any single time we play to use that
Hi,
one.
James. Hey, Brad. Just saying hi to our viewers. So, yeah, so we had the opportunity to visit with the Sid last week. He came in and he taught us something new. What did he teach us?
Yes. Taught us this new little format that he had been testing. It is a like a dungeon kind of D&D style format for Genesis. So it's like you take formats, you set them up. Yeah, formats. It was huge. It was
Yeah,
big-
we
big
had to
playing
take two
field.
tables and smash them together. Well, we didn't really smash them, but we had to put two tables together.
And even with putting the two tables together, we still had mats hanging off of the tables.
somewhat, yeah, because like he had set it up so it was like one mat and then another mat and then another mat here and then another mat over here,
Mat in
but they
front
were
of it.
all.
Yeah, they were all like
I
kind
think so.
of something
But
like that.
yeah, once seeing the setup when he was setting it up, it was like, "Ooh, this is interesting." It's like, how
I
do we
know.
actually play Genesis, right? In
Yeah.
this setup, right? So it was kind of interesting. But he went on to explain it. So when he started off, and he's saying you enter into a dungeon, right? So when we was going through the rules. So how we actually played this was very interesting because it incorporated the drafting aspect. Okay, yeah.
4 packs each. We had to open them, go through them, put everything all together, and then sort it afterwards, deciding not only who we wanted to play, but kind of what we wanted to play, whether it was like the spellcaster, the summoner, the fighter, or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
we had to put that into consideration when we were building.
Well, that was his suggestion. He suggested it's like make sure you have at least a fighter, a summoner.
Well, that's the
and a
one thing
spellcaster.
to D&D too, right?
Yeah.
Like an actual D&D game, it's like you
want to have a rogue, you want to have
Yeah,
a
you
fighter,
wanna
a
have at
cleric,
least
etc.,
one of
right?
each
So
in your
to cover
group.
everything.
Yeah. So we're deciding what we wanted to build. You start all obviously on the one side in the line, and then you got to go through. You got to defeat all the monsters.
Okay, so
Wild.
yeah, let's go back to
Yeah.
the drafting. So
Sorry.
once that's okay. So once we had decided which champions we wanted to use, so we kind of split it up. So I think Kenny had chosen Kuhn, you had chosen Nubia,
Obviously.
and then Cam and I, we had both chosen Idris, right? So we kept it within so 2 shared affiliations and the other 2 shared affiliations, right? So I think it made it a little bit easier when drafting, right? So it's like, so if we had 3 champions that shared affiliations, right, it would be harder to build the timeline, right? So out of the card pool, limited amount of
Limited
cards, right?
cards,
So
for sure.
I think moving forward, as far as if the game progress, like the style of Genesis progresses, it's like keeping that in mind or a suggestion, right? So it's like if you build a league timeline because you have 4 Nubias playing, right? And it's like, so now half of the cards that you drafted are no longer good, right?
Yeah.
Or if you have 3 champions that are all using, say, Bellum, right? So now all the Bellum cards that you drafted have to get spread out even further, right? So it's like, it all depends on what you draft too, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, it made it very, very interesting on building a timeline. So we still built, it was 35 card timeline. and
Yeah.
the 135 aura or whatever it was, right? So
Yeah, no, chi.
Sorry, chi, yeah, chi.
Aura comes with the champion.
Yes. Thank you. So yeah, so kind of like in a sealed event or a draft event, right?
Yeah.
More or less, or 50 cards. Right? It's like, yeah, I've already been hacked on about that one, but anyway. So we each have our own individual timeline.
We don't pay attention to rules.
Yeah. So and then we're lined up, so we have to start on the back row of the first mat, and then he had cards face down for when we had started, and then once we had started, he'd turn over those cards in the same style as if we were playing Genesis, like a one-on-one kind of thing.
So like we could bring in summons, and then we could play like spells and all
whatever,
that.
right?
Just
We had
try and beat them. Yeah.
We had to defeat, I think it was 5 summons in the first dungeon. We had to defeat them all before we could move into the next dungeon, right? So,
And not every single one of them were flipped over all at once. It was once we entered the dungeon, then the cards would be flipped over.
Yeah. So he had in the other dungeon sections, he had cards face down that on his turn he could actually move around in the dungeon, right? Kind of thing to get a setup. So to speak, but we didn't know what they were, right?
He didn't even know what they were.
Yeah, he said he didn't even know what
He's
they
like,
were.
I am not. A good thing that this, one was a good one because I don't even know what's in here. He told him threw a bunch of cards together and went with it. He was like, okay.
So, but we did not regain any resources, right? Moving from one dungeon to the game, right? It's when do you play summons? When do you play this or whatever in different situations, right? Now, however, the four, because there were other people that wanted to try it, work together. It's like we're not facing each other; we're facing the dungeon itself, right? But still playing at, like as if it was Genesis, right? So it was really, really interesting, really cool. The start off, right? And so we made it through the first dungeon. It was. It was okay. It was a little tricky at first, right? But then once I think the 4 of us got to in sync more or less on what we were doing. We were able to discuss things, what to do, because we could see each other's hands.
Yeah, you were able to look at your group's hands, not the
allies.
Allies. Yeah, your allies' hands to be able to see what they got, make suggestions or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then based on what they play. Figure a player.
The only restriction is we weren't allowed to use our allies' resources, right? So we were restricted to only using what our timelines were, etc. Right? Aura, etc. So
it's because every champion has something different.
Exactly.
So I mean, if you were to put like one specific number on everything, right? But you still want to keep it towards like the Genesis aspect, right? Like you want to, keep it in the Genesis, right?
Honestly, I don't think it would play out as well if all the champions were working out of one pool of resource.
It really wouldn't. But again, like I mean, say like one plays Nubia, one plays like Malik, and then the other one plays like Kendra, right?
Yeah.
For say, add everything up, right? What like your aura, your health, and that.
But what would you do with energy reduction though? Because some champions have 2 energy, some have 1, some have none, right? So I mean, then you wouldn't be able to incorporate that into a combined resources.
I feel like if you would go based off of who has more.
Who has the highest?
Yeah, so it's like
maybe.
So if you're playing with like 2 champions that have 2, but one that has 1, everyone would just get a 2 energy reduction. Or if you're playing with like 2 champions with 1, but 1 champion with 2, you would go 1 energy reduction. So it's like more people who have the energy reduction.
Or go on an average, you could.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's we got a couple of comments here. So James is saying he can't wait to see the rules for this. We're hopefully going to work out the kinks and whatnot and see this manufactured. We're going to get into that. He's been excited about this. He's heard us Sid talk about this on his podcast. Yeah, so Sid did touch base on it. Brad saying, would you say that having a 35 card timeline in PvE dungeon crawls that it energy more restrictive? As energy. As far as the resources. Well, I think it's because of the shared knowledge of what we were playing. It's like when to play it, when not to play it, when to hold it, kind of the strategy of where we were positioned in the dungeon at any given time, and giving suggestions to one another. It's like, okay, well, wait a minute. Don't play this just yet because, I could do this. It doesn't cost as much, but still as effective or whatnot.
Yeah.
So being able to communicate those different strategies with your allies going through the dungeon actually helped us reserve a lot of resources, I found, by the end of the dungeon, right? So it was pretty interesting as that. So I wouldn't really say that it's restricting. It's just reserving, I would say, more so. But so Ben is saying super fun games. Okay, yep.
Curious about your experience with it. Definitely strange.
It was
For
very
it was
interesting.
Different. I had a lot of fun with it. I think again something different. Like
it is very it
Yeah.
was very different and a very interesting and unique way of playing Genesis. So
mhm.
so basically we went through the 3 dungeons to start with, and each time there were summons. So I found the first dungeon was, I'd say, mid difficulty, mid-range difficulty, getting through it. The second and third, we walked all over it, right? Because we were in sync. What was in it? So I mean, I can't really recall exactly what summons were in each dungeon. However, it just seemed like the second and third one, they were a lot less, right? Challenging to get through. So, which was one thing that I had suggested to a Sid, and it's like have it pre-designated, right? So like your first one, you have like your 3s and 4s, and then the second one would be like your 5 cheese, and then your 6 cheese, and then your
7 and 8.
7 8s kind of thing or whatever. But once we got to that last dungeon, though, there was a bit of a surprise. Do you remember?
We had a boss battle.
We had a boss battle. So basically, the person who was a Sid at the time was running a actual champion himself with a timeline on top of the already preset summons. So he was able to summon more himself. So we actually combined together, had to face, and I think it was Core, right, that we had to face for the final battle of the dungeons. So with him being able to play spells, cast more summons and whatnot, plus face a whole bunch of other summons that were in there with less resources, because we had to use some of those resources to go through the first 3 dungeons, made it really difficult.
Sorry.
And that's okay. However, there's one other thing that was in addition to that. Basic face down that were considered walls, so nothing could go over them. Nothing can pass through them, but you could still fire over them if you were at ranged attacks.
Are you buying singles or no?
Depends.
Okay, I got. I know, right?
Can you come back in an hour? We're on a live stream right now. Is that possible? That's okay. No worries. No worries. Okay, sounds great. Thank you. So yeah, these walls, he had them preset as to where they were. So in the last dungeon, they were set up so that we had to actually channel, like it was like a bottleneck that we had to go through in order to get to Core, where he was sitting. However, what did he do? Do you remember? He teleported. He teleported into a spot where we were able to get to him a little bit more easy, right?
Yeah.
So, however, if he was to have stayed behind those walls, right, it would have been very difficult for us to get to him. But, I mean, in the long run,
Yeah.
definitely. There are a few suggestions that I had given to him. It's like, so let's get into the manufacturing side of it. So, to actually move forward, and inside the kit would have the different campaign levels, right? But it would have pre-designated like what summons are being used, and the summons aren't restricted to what champion you're using, so they could be from any affiliation kind of thing. So have that predetermined kind of thing, or a suggested start point for each campaign, right? So and what champion is well, actually he drafted the champion So he got 6 packs, and he was building as if it was a sealed event, whereas we had the 4-pack draft, right? So, as far as the product weight, so it can be added on to. So if you bought, like, say, a booster box, because you would need a booster box to actually play this, right? So to get the drafting experience from the players at the starting point. However, for future, you just keep that box, right? And you can make it sort of like each campaign, and then just have all the next dungeon levels a little bit more difficult too. So then he said he's working out the in-betweens campaigns. So what you're able to do, gain resources back while you're resting, kind of thing, before you go on to your next adventure, right? So it's really interesting. I board games, dungeon crawlers or whatnot. So I play a lot of Imperial Assault, as you know, with Uncle Armando, my brother-in-law. It had a really huge feeling like that, but without the miniatures. You're playing with the cards. You're laughing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah.
So Brad's saying, very cool. It's neat that teamwork makes such a big difference. Yeah, teamwork was huge. It was very valuable to us that we were able to correspond with one another and whatnot. Definitely a key thing to playing this style.
4 play mats would be expensive. Maybe a new, different mat with miniature or small card stands. Now the thing is you don't need card stands. It doesn't work like a miniature system. It's a card game, but in a miniature style.
Yeah.
So it's like the cards lay flat. It's like even with like the DM, the DM in this game.
Well, it's still because he's still a dungeon master, right?
Yeah. Okay,
So
DM in the game, they would just lay their cards face down. It's just, I think the only tricky part was trying to remember whose cards were whose, because none of us played with sleeves.
Yeah.
And
so
we got really confused. But I mean, that's easy.
Well, for us, it was we only had the 2 and the 2, right? So like Cam and I were using Idris, so we knew which was
easily accomplished.
Yeah. So Cam and I, like, since we were both using Idris, had Thymos Chaos, whereas you and Kenny were Bellum Axon, right?
Yeah.
Between those 2 and Cam and I, it's like, okay, well,
who's got what?
Who's is who's, like, especially if we were using the same summon. So like Cam and I were both using Lightless. So when my Lightless was on the field at the same time his was, it was like so many. It was pretty interesting. So one of us would go, then Sid would go, and then another
Back
one of
to
us,
us, and
back
then
to us,
Sid.
back to us,
Yeah.
until everything again was exerted, just like as if you were playing regular
Yeah.
Genesis. So
I feel like maybe they should do, like, add another thing for D&D in there, like the initiative. So like you roll to see who goes first, and then like what.
it could be added. That would be a really good
I
suggestion.
feel like that would be easier, because in the long run, then the DM is getting more turns
Right.
than the rest of the team, right? If you
But
have everyone just go
It wasn't
once.
until the very last dungeon that I actually felt there was an issue with that, because he wasn't moving around anything else in the other dungeons anymore, which is where his turns mostly were, right? So he only had the 5 summons per dungeon. So basically he's only getting 5 turns, compared to if we had like multiple summons on the thing. Like we had like so many more turns than him, right? It wasn't until the very last one that I found the turn advantage shifted a little bit, not as much, but a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even like having like say roll initiative, right? And
Yeah.
have
Well, we
everyone go.
determined.
It's like one goes, you play like one side. It's almost like Genesis, right? You go back and forth and you play one, but instead of going from DM to player, DM to player, DM to player, right?
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, everyone gets like one turn at a time, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess it would still work, but it would keep it in a little bit more.
But it would make. I think
fashion.
that would make it too easy for the champion.
No, you roll.
Right.
Right. Say like you roll a 2, I roll a 5, someone else rolls like a 9, and then someone else rolls like, you know,
Oh,
7.
to determine that's the person that has
Highest
to
would go first, lowest would go last.
Okay.
Right, like how it works in D&D, right? You
Yeah.
roll initiative, you know, highest goes first, whatever you're first on the list to go, right?
Yeah.
So it would work like that, right? So, you know, you'd roll, and then the first person to go would go, and then second, third, whatever, how many players you got, and then it would restart. So on each turn, you would only play one thing. Like you go for one thing. So like, if I were to go for like a summon, I'd, you know, move that summon, do whatever I wanted with that summon. And
Yep.
next person goes. They do what they want. And then
It's exerted. So
yeah.
good thing that Ben pointed out here. It says the co-op allows for many weird plays. Is that Toad or Toad? Or Styles. Oh, sorry. So yeah, they combine strategies, right? So, and I think for those who don't have that much experience behind Genesis and knowing how the tactical in Genesis work, right? Some jumping over others, or you know, playing for the other player, right? So,
Yeah.
But people more
To learn it,
knowledgeable
yeah.
of the tactics in
Just
Genesis.
because like you gotta, you know, way,
Yeah.
like if that makes sense. Like
But
that's how I found it.
one
right?
player had the thought of doing something or whatever, but another champion decides to do something that's going to prevent them from doing that, right? Without them stating it or speaking up about it or whatever, right? It could cause an issue as far as what's to happen afterwards,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, definitely. Healing Fire would be amazing. In this format. Yes, because then you can help your allies summons as well, right? You can get into a position if you're using Healing Fire, which heals, right? So you can actually help your opponent, or sorry, not your opponent, your allies as well. So you get in behind another champion, play the Healing Fire, target them, right?
Yeah.
Especially when they're getting down. Yeah, it definitely would be. I don't think any of us, because it wasn't in J2, we only drafted J2 for it. We didn't have access to Healing Fire, but yeah, 100%.
Specifically the attacking ones, like the Chain Lightning or
Yes.
stuff like that. We had those ones. Those worked.
Yeah.
I used it and it got the win. You know, the final round.
Yeah, the one card that gets broken so many times whenever it's played, right? We actually got to utilize it. Although we did stop a Sid from using it too once, I think, in the last battle, which was really nice. I think there's a ton of potential for cards that don't see frequent competitive use to see play in a format like this. Yes. Yeah, it can be. You're kind of forced to what you can play too. You find that a lot of the cards that you don't see in competitive play or in the meta game kind of thing being used more, and I think they would be used more in this format as well, right? So it's like looking for those small 3-chi kind of useless summons, right? Could effectively work in this format a lot better, right? So, yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I think we got right. We're actually running a tournament right now. So are you guys all done? Okay, I'm coming. I'll report. I'll be right back. Mackenzie, keep them.
You remember how this ended the last time I tried to entertain when you left?
Tell them how much you love Nubia.
I love Nubia.
How much?
A lot. Think of a lot. The whole like Earth span. Like I love Nubia. Come on. You see her? She's so pretty. I don't even know that. I'm just kind of here. Yes, he leaves and then the party leaves with him. Hurry up and come back.
Here's the challenge for you. Build a deck based off only the movie.
2 on me.
Build a deck with only cards in the movie.
Yeah, that's gonna watch this later and it's just
Only the one movie. Yeah.
Or if you just go.
I don't play Odara. So I don't know how she runs.
I only knew about the really good one.
I've only heard of people saying she's not good. That's all. I never played her, so I don't have an opinion on that one. Did you test with your board in the dungeon? Yes, we did. Yeah, we did. So when we were playing, there were packs that were actually not the first one or the last one, but the middle two. If we had a champion sitting on that pack by the end of the round or the end of that dungeon, we got that pack. We got to open it, and then all the dungeons. So yeah, it was
Test the
packs.
loot rewards. Yes.
They were sitting
Yeah, that was
in the
super
dungeon.
cool too.
Yeah, that was cool. All the cards got into the card pool. There were too many cards at the end of the game. We didn't know what the heck to do with them.
Yeah, right. But no, at first when we got that first loot pack, I didn't take as many for my timeline, right? So but I didn't think of it. So this would give a huge advantage to Nubia that you were playing, right? So with the double draw, you're going to go through that timeline really quick. So getting that loot pack and adding just whatever you want in there. It has to be with your same affiliation though, mind you, but it doesn't matter. Just grab it. Right?
Yeah. So not only adding just kind of like what I want, but also just like.
Well, that was my initial thought was just taking what I thought would be useful, right? Not just grabbing anything, but because once you run out of your timeline still in this format, you still lose, right? You're out kind of thing. So it's like, yeah, you want to take those extra cards no matter what, right? Add them in from your initial building onto it or whatever, right? Or if you have to spend energy, then you're not going to waste your timeline. But yeah, so that is really cool. Yeah. Overall, the format itself, I give it 10, man. It's like I had so much fun playing it. It was such a great experience, and I love testing new formats for Genesis on top of it too.
Yeah.
What was your final thoughts on it?
Oh, sorry.
Did it tire you out?
No.
Did you fall asleep?
No, long day.
Long day.
Yeah, long day. It's definitely like really fun. Give it at least a 9 again. Like some of the things that I'd said that could be put in there or changed or whatever, right? I think possibly changing some of the stuff up or whatever, make it 10, right? Make it better, right? Definitely it was just testing, right? It's still in like the process for ruling and all that, right? So
I know he had said there's still a lot of things that have to be worked out and changed or whatever to make it really fluent and run really well. So the one thing that I really liked when we first started, he actually brought the lore into
he did
into the game, right? So it's like
he's like hang on, whips on his phone and starts reading
off this little spiel that he had created, which I thought was really cool, which gave it that RPG kind of feeling, right? So it was really interesting. So he said it was after the war, etc. He spieled off about it, whatnot, and then and it made sense, kind of thing, that you were facing horror right there at the end. It was super awesome. It got me more involved into the format, even though I already am, right? I mean, it didn't really matter, but it did. Especially, I think this is going to target a lot of cross players that like different style of gaming, not just TCG, right? So now we're incorporating a dungeon crawler style, RPG style, campaign style into Genesis, right?
Yeah.
Which I think he had stated at one point in time. He's eating donuts over there. Sorry, we're like so way off. But yeah,
we're all hungry. There we go. That's what we should do after this.
So Ben stated he's played it with a bunch of newer players, and it was a hoot. It's fun working together. Yeah, it's it brings your players together. And I think key number one thing that's going to help Genesis as far as this format is people learning strategies, right? And it's a good way to progress.
Me who doesn't like working in a group, that definitely teaches you how to do it.
Teaching us that. We're looking forward to seeing more of it and playing more of that style of Genesis too here at the store. So outside of Kenny, I'm pretty sure most of the other guys know, because they were here and they had seen what was going on, showed some interest in it as well. So I mean, it's which leads into our second topic. In the game, lack of cards, waiting for Origins, the feeling of my local guys within my community. I mean, they're getting kind of tired of playing for quite some time. Seeing from last year's championship, the meta switch. So we saw new champions coming up on top, such as Core, Kuhn, right? So these players are starting to discover newer meta timelines. However, it's gotten to the point where can they discover more without any new card pool, right? So we've been waiting so long for new card pool. Like we are getting the reprint of J2, which is going to help attract more players into the game. However, the current players that are already in, where is their standpoint with the meta game and keeping that interest, that excitement, and the flow of new constructions of timelines.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on that?
How long has it been since J2 released?
Well, J2 is 100% reprint. So all the cards that are in J2, we've already seen them within Alpha, Beta, Welcome to J, and Rays.
Okay, so Rays came out back in like 2020, right?
2019.
I can't see the poster from here.
2019.
Okay,
I'm pretty
2019.
Sure, yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
so
been
2
like
years. We're in 20, almost 3. Well, it'll be 3 years
19,
by the fall,
20,
right? Because it came out, I think, September 2019, I believe.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So yeah.
It's almost 3 years. All right.
Yeah.
And all these cards, really like doesn't like get too boring, but then you're running out of options.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you're trying to find new things to raise. So it's like Origins once it comes out.
We need Origins.
Bunch
We
of
need,
new stuff.
we need a larger card pool to
Right.
open up. I think shift the meta. So a lot of recently, because of the Epiphany issue, the branding issue, a lot of timelines were discovered for the OTKs, and it seemed like it affected much. But not being able to find anything that really terminates those timelines and the current meta timelines. And people have kind of stopped trying to experimenting with new stuff because they can't find it, so they just kind of give up, right? So without the new stuff to progress with it, I think.
Yeah. I feel like that's the one thing. It's like I don't really have anything else to say really about it. It's just the fact that again, just slightly different, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's the same, just different cards, right?
So yeah, we're seeing like primarily Kuhn, still some Nubia being played, and some Core Idris, like the four major champions, right? At the moment, not seeing too much of the other champions. We're rising, right? Nobody's experimenting with it. Well, this is within our community anyway. I don't know if anybody else has anything else to add to that in your community, if you're playing from a different store or other places, or even at home. From what we're seeing, because we have so many meta players here, right? And they're I think getting away from playing the game, right? Which is a fear that I have, that it's gonna fall dead, right? But I know Origins is coming, and I understand the world is like chaotic as far as production, shipping, all that kind of weird stuff that's going on.
The red blue.
That we well yeah, but that's what's so exciting, because when Origins comes, we're 12 new champions. Anyway, Blast from the Past are 12 days of Genesis. 12 new champions. That's going to be very interesting to see how it interacts with the current meta, right? So it's like, and I know we discussed this on past streams too. It's like, how is it going to affect those older champions with the new card pool? Are they still going to stay current meta, right? So it's like that anticipation, but personally myself, I don't think it's quick enough. It's been a long time.
Can't wait
for Phage. Yes.
Me neither.
Plus the add-on of one new affiliation on top of it. Yes, exactly, Hassan.
I'm so
agree
shocked.
with you.
Oh, sorry, you were
No, go ahead.
saying there. No, I'm just so shocked that like all of this had been like completely thought out in the beginning, because he already knew that he was going to come out with a new color eventually, right? Because Phage has been on cards since
Alpha.
Yeah,
it's already been there.
Yeah, it was there, and I thought that it ever got like produced in like the
Produced?
Yeah, that one.
Mhm.
Produced at all, right?
Yes.
In the sets that we have now, but I mean, just you thought it through.
Bringing it in this late in the game is, I don't know. It's okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, having it from the start, it would have been, oh, well, we have to have all the different color combinations and all the other champions,
Now,
right?
but the thing is with having it in the beginning is then we wouldn't get anything like, really old combinations. But now we get a full new color to play around with, right?
Yeah.
Aside from just like different like color combinations, right? As exciting as that is, I feel like a new color altogether is just way more excited, honestly.
Right.
I'm really hyped
You're
for
really
it. It's
hyped
my
up
favorite
for
color
Paige.
too.
Green.
I had been asking about that, yes.
Oh.
This little gremlin.
What you said. It's not a goblin. Or sorry, it's not a gremlin. Oh, you're making me say it now. It's not a gremlin.
It's not a goblin, eh?
It's a goblin. Stop calling it a gremlin. Anyway.
Oh, don't worry about it. Someone called it.
But yeah, no, we're super excited. I think it is long overdue, but having the understanding and patience that Origins is not here yet, with the hopes that it would be. So I mean, keeping our fingers crossed, we'll see it by for the Kickstarter anyway by May, the end of May. I think he was anticipating, and then May into June. Yep. Hopefully, or maybe even by the end of June, and then going into July having it available at retail, right? So it's and then whether or not it's going to be legal for certain circuits or to them, will it be legal for then? It's like a mad rush for new players to start building these new timelines, right?
I think that's going to be the one problem with it is the timing where it comes out or where it would be coming out is right around Anime North, right? So I mean with
well, it might even hit the one in I think it's Ohio, right? That it might even potentially be legal then. So we're not 100% sure yet. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's the one problem with it coming out around that. So for like, oh, you can, build decks around this and it's okay to play at the circuits. It's like everyone's going to be rushing. And then it's like a huge rush to get it. And if you don't get it in time, well.
Yeah.
Here.
Like, see, with the J2 printing, though, it was like when he announced it, I was super excited. And it's like, yay, we're finally getting product again, right? And it was like, oh, do we print more of J2, go right into our Origins, right? And it's like, well, we didn't get a lot of J2, right? When the community was really starting to build because we had opened back up from COVID. And it's like, well, we need more J2, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I had my suggestion was to stay with going with a more J2 print prior to Origins. And it's like we need something new, we need something fresh to keep Genesis going, to keep our meta players and our competitive players interested in Genesis, right? So
yeah, that's for sure.
On its own, though, I mean, like the game is super exciting, right? Super fun to play. We need to go. We need to advance a little bit more. So, but yeah. So that's my thoughts on that. Can't wait for this stuff. That's just the way it is now, right? I mean, on myself personally, building timelines. Is it really working in the meta game, staying competitive? However, like I know I'm going to be competing in this year's championship, but progressing forward after that, not sure. I'm really loving this organizing and running organized play and creating events and promoting Genesis more so than the actual competitive side. So it's like I know I've been talking with Will a lot, sell here at the store and whatnot, looking for deck lists and whatnot, and looking at just some of those fun style, just having fun with it, looking for theme decks or whatnot, right? So it's like I'm having a lot of fun doing that right now, more so than the actual competitive gameplay, right? So in keeping an eye on it, I do follow like my community here at the store, right? As far as what they're playing, keeping an eye, watching, right?
What a coincidence! I said.
Yeah, no,
Connection unstable.
So therefore, watching it back. Oh, there we go. We're good. No, you don't think you can ever take the game that serious enough? You want to get into competitive play again?
I don't know. Like the one thing about competitive play, especially like right now, is like I've noticed people are getting like over with it. Like there's like competitive, and then there's like competitive, right?
Yeah.
Like I mean, I feel like
Well,
if
that's the
you
same
say
thing. It's
That's
just your
not-
tone of how you're saying it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what makes it different.
Okay.
But it's like,
So we have to have union bias when you go into competitive play, so you can determine the
yeah,
tone of the competitiveness.
yeah,
Like how you say it. Okay.
yeah.
Anyway.
It's like, I don't know. It should be competitive where it's and you're being like a sore
Oh,
loser if
so
you don't
yeah,
win.
salty
Like that.
competitiveness.
Yes,
yeah.
that
People start
kind of
getting upset and mad
competitive, right?
because they're not winning, their timelines aren't working, which is practice. You gotta always practice, right?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Exactly, right? So it's like, that's what I mean. It's like, even like,
I think you're gonna find that no
Anything.
matter what.
well, exactly. I
any
was going to say
TCG.
with Magic, right? Like, I mean, I noticed a lot of people there getting like, really salty, right?
Well, that's because the power level of the Magic community here at the store is starting to get higher, a lot
Yeah.
higher, right? So people are not complaining as much when people bring in these, really heavy EDH decks and whatnot. There are people that come back down when you can progress up to that level as well. So, which is the same thing with Genesis. It's like, so we're actually helping the other players come to our level, right? By teaching them, showing them, letting them know what they need to get. Also, too, while playing, I noticed a lot in my community. It's like when they're done playing a game, they actually sit there and they talk about the game. They say, "Oh, well, I suggest this, or you could have done that, or whatnot." So
I
it's
noticed that a lot too. Yeah.
teaching them what they should do as far as strategies in timeline building,
Yeah.
which is really good, which makes the Genesis community so nice, right?
Yeah.
And prime. So the amount of players that we have. So yeah. You still haven't answered.
What I don't know. Debatable.
Debatable.
Yeah.
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 Too busy.
Debatable.
I know you're
Debatable.
always busy.
Yeah.
Busy. So I think we're gonna wrap it up for the evening. Any final thoughts on the discussion tonight? Never have any final thoughts. Nothing to attack. You're the Mack-Attack.
Mack-Attack. No. Usually, like within I never really have any final thoughts because I always say, what I think within the video, right? So I mean.
Okay, I won't ask you. I won't ask you the questions anymore. Anyway, some quick announcements. Again, our circuit tournament for Genesis will be held at Anime North. July 15th, 16th, 17th is the weekend that the convention is going. The circuit event will be held on the Saturday, July 16th, starting at 11 o'clock in the morning. Registration will start at 10. Deck list will be required. We will have judges on hand as well, so to run the event. Once it is built, which we still have not yet done, once it's built on the Geo, you can pre-register, and we will announce with instructions if you want to prepay for the tournament. However, you will be required to buy a ticket into the convention in order to play at the tournament. So just a heads up on that. So if you prepay for the ticket, but you don't buy your entry into the convention, then you may not get to play in the tournament. So it's the only stipulation. So I think that's the first circuit in Ohio is the same thing. You have to purchase a ticket to get into the convention, which I don't know the full details on that one. But anyway, so we run our locals for Genesis every Thursday evening and Saturday afternoons. Thursday evening it starts 6:30 around there. Saturday it's at 12:30 in the afternoon. And if you want to participate, come on down. Create a profile on the geo/genesisbattlechampions.com website. Anywhere kind of thing, all you got to do is register on there. So and visit www.genesisbattlechampions.com where you can find out all the information you need to know about Genesis, including the lore, card database, how to play, etc. So
Yes.
social media, let's go.
Okay, social media. So we have the 2 Facebook groups. Yes.
Real Heads or Tails Gaming Group. You'll
Real.
see a picture of me.
Yes. Pikachu and Piplup. And then the Real Heads or Tails.
No, Squirtle.
Close enough.
Anyway, put in a
And
request to
then-
join the group. Because we got hacked, I kind of pre-screen everybody that joins the group to avoid any nonsense or craziness happening.
Yeah.
But we do have our Genesis Battle of Champions Facebook group as well for Real Heads or Tails Gaming. You can check that out and join in the conversation there, or post anything Genesis related, preferably.
Heads.or.tails9 is TikTok, or if you search up Heads or Tails Gaming, it'll pop up too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we did some shorts the other night for the new Magic the Gathering set coming out. Did some collector booster openings. You
I
can see
supposed to
some
put
of
those
that.
up on YouTube. I didn't do it last night.
Oh, I thought you said you did. But anyway,
Oh, yeah, I did. Never mind. Sorry.
okay. Yeah, you did, because I did see them this morning. But yeah, you can check us out there. We do a few pack openings here and there for other games, but we're primarily Genesis. So definitely looking forward to doing some Origins pack openings when we get the Kickstarter in. We'll definitely be doing some specials on that one. Can't wait. Can't wait. Yeah. So organized play within the 4-year anniversary promos are starting to be handed out to random players. So it's super excited. Be sure to get an opportunity by playing in any. We've seen the Essence Drain and the Essence Drain and Malevolent Spirit. Thank you. Yes, we haven't seen it soon. Hoping for it, but yeah. So yeah. So again, thanks to Hana Castle Gaming and Sid for giving us Genesis that we love to talk about.
The whole design team, our team, everyone that works for that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Special thank you to all the art design team as well for Genesis, which we love the artwork so much. Yeah, we always have to recognize the artists. They work so hard on giving us the images associated with the game. So yeah, we definitely have to say thank you to them all the time. And one quick shout out, Richard Summers, EDH's Life. If you get a chance, check him out on Facebook or YouTube as well. He does a lot of content for Magic the Gathering. So one of our former tech guys, but yeah, definitely check out his content if you're looking for some Magic suggestions or pack. One side of the coin, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate all your support, and thanks for viewing our show. So I am Steveo the Gamer, and with me,
Mack-Attack.
my co-host, and we will see you next Thursday on One Side of the Coin. Bye.
It won't click. It won't click. Click.
There you go.